everybody. How are we feeling this evening? Okay, so before I go into anything, I said to myself today, I was praying to God, I said, God, when I come on this stage, I just want to be myself. I want to glorify you because you have done something special in my life. This year has been an incredible year for me, but more than anything, I'm an energy person, I want this to be a conversation between you and I. I have been on a journey and, this is really my first time speaking publicly, like in real life, about my journey, about the journey that God has really, really taken me on, and it has been a lot. So this is what I was getting to today. So if everybody can have a seat and just, we're getting real comfortable. We're changing up the energy in the room just a little bit. How are we feeling? Are we feeling good? Okay, guys, you have to remember, I said I'm an energy person. So, are we feeling good? All right, amazing. Haley, what an incredible woman you are. Thank you so much for having me on this stage. I know I don't have a lot of time, but my story has a lot of layers, and hopefully I'm able to tell the various layers of it in the minuscule time that Haley has given me, but it's good. All right, isn't God amazing? I don't want to stand here and tell you that, I'm this Christian woman who has been on this journey from the jump and no. First and foremost, I was born and raised in a Muslim household. My first name is Azizat. No Christianity, nothing like that around me. I came into this country when I was 6, 7 years old, very much fresh into the land, in London, very much a babe who has just grown up and, knowing one way of living. And I always believed in God. I always felt very connected to God in some capacity. I didn't really know what that meant, but I always felt connected to God. And I remember, just to kind of fast forward my story a little bit, so, Muslim girl, somehow walked into the Christian path at some point in her journey, no idea when. But at some point, I remember was it February 2020, I don't want to get the dates wrong, but February 2023, I got baptized after going through a lot of trials. I was someone who was very hell-bent on making my career my God in a lot of ways. My career was the beginning and the end of everything for me. I only cared about, really living out this thing that I had. I always had a passion for speaking to people and having these deep dive conversations and just allowing people's hearts and minds and souls, etc., to be felt. But at some point in the journey, it just became my God. It was everything. It was everything. It was my personality, And I just became this really in some ways, really dark person. I was really miserable. I was really unhappy. I was very, very, very miserable. A lot of people wouldn't know. Even my closest friends would have no idea because I just kind of kept everything inward. But at home, I was truly dying inside. And I don't say that, I don't say that on a low level, but I was very much dead on the inside. I just was like a walking, what do you call it? Just a flesh, And at some point, me and my best friend, my girl Leah, she's in the building right now. We were having a conversation, and we kind of went on this journey together where we locked in and we were like, maybe this let's give this God thing a go. And so at some point we got baptized. Again, it was very fluffy, very bubbly, very light, nothing serious. Am I right in saying so? Yeah. So I got baptized, and again, happy-go-lucky girl, yay, I got baptized. And you're thinking, oh my God, I know God. Woo, this is great. And, I'm walking, and, anyone could talk to me about God, and I'd be like, yeah, I understand Jesus, I think. But it wasn't really in my heart. It really wasn't. And again, I want everybody to keep, the timelines in your mind, just because I really want my story to touch you and allow you to understand just how quickly God can work and how much when God wants you in the way that he wants all of us, he will pull you. You will come home. And I want to just say thank you, Jesus, for bringing me home, because I'm finally home. So we're going to talk about how I got home. Okay, let's talk about how I got home. So I remember, Haley, please. So I finished getting baptized, like I said, and, I kind of started doing my thing. Everything looks like it was good, but something just felt like it was missing. I remember after getting baptized, God started giving me a range of downloads. We call them downloads. God was telling me, one of the things I needed to do was I needed to go to America to go spend time with my birth family. I didn't grow up with my family at all. And that was going to be our first time spending Christmas together. So that was the first thing, the first step of obedience. If you know the way God works, everything is layer by layer. God doesn't give you everything, straight bam, you're going to cry and it's not going to work. So God was very slow with me. So, one of the first things he told me to do was go to America, spend Christmas with my parents, get to know myself through, my analysis and understanding of them. Go to America, that was great. Then he gave me downloads about my show. So just for some context, a lot of you might not know my show, but I have these really deep dive conversations with people just about their journeys, their life, like I said before. And so at some point I felt disconnected from the show. So God gave me these bunch of episodes that it was like, I remember one day I was just in a bathroom and it was like episodes after episodes, and I was just like going crazy. And I was like, why am I feeling all of this? What is this? And one of the episodes that lands on my plate was about Halloween. Now, one thing about me is I've always been someone who wanted to know the truth. I wanted to find out who is Jesus? Who is Muhammad? What is the truth? What is tarot reading? What is horoscope? So at some point in my journey, I found myself kind of dabbling into horoscopes, and it messed me up. But that's a story for another day, because when I tell you that thing led me down, it was so deep. So anyway, when God gave me this download to do a Halloween episode, I said, yeah, cool. I mean, this is also very in alignment with me, because I know the woman that I wanted to speak to, she also dabbled in horoscope. She was a witch. If anyone saw that episode, it went viral, and, she was talking to, did you guys see it? All right, cool. So me and this woman, we had this, conversation where she was talking about the reality of Halloween, what it means, the reality of tarot readings, the reality of just all of these things. And again, I was still very, very lukewarm in my journey, so didn't really know much. But I was like, yeah, God told me to do this, we're doing this. No, nobody was armoring me up or anything like that. Episode comes out, and this was the first time I felt like I felt people really, really, really not like me online. I remember I would wake up and it'll be videos like, oh, this girl, I always felt her energy was weird. She's become one of those church aunties. What do you mean tarot reading is this? It was crazy. And as much as I had my friends to tell them, what was going on, no one really understood the reality of what was going on in my heart and how much this was like hurting me. Again, remember I said I was someone who has always been, or at some point in my journey, I became like, my career became my life. So you can imagine I'm online and people are saying, oh, she's this. I'm breaking, and I'm like, God, I'm like on my knees, I'm praying. I'm like, God, you're being really quiet. Like, why? I can't even feel you. How are you doing this to me? You gave me the instructions to do this episode, and I've done it, and I don't hear you, and I'm trying to speak to you, and I'm trying to, nothing. And I'm hearing nothing, and I'm becoming more and more angry, because as I'm speaking to my friends, no one really understood. They're just like, oh, it's not that deep. It's just how it happens. You know how online gets, but it was a lot for me. And so because of that, I completely stepped away from God. I stopped doing the small things that was actually allowing my faith to grow, like reading my Bible, praying. I just stopped everything because everything felt very heavy for me, and I walked away completely. And I think that about this point, it was about November. We're going into November now. The thing about God is that when God knows what he has designed for you, you running away is not part of the plan. You're going to find your way back home. And so what God did was, God is incredible. So I stopped reading my word, etc. And I remember I got this message from this guy on Snapchat that I haven't spoken to in years. I don't use Snapchat, but I used to back in the day. And he was like, he sent me, I don't remember exactly what he said, but he was like, hey, Wunmi, this is really random. Bearing in mind, I haven't spoken to this guy in years. I literally don't know who he is at this point. He messaged me. He's like, hey, I saw your video. I just wanted to let you know this might sound really random, a bit scary, but God had told me to pray for you from 2020 or something like that. Pray for your salvation, pray for your career, pray for your family, pray for you. And he sent me a screenshot, and you can actually see the date, and it was November 2020 or 2021, something of that nature. And I was like, ugh. Because of where I was, no one really could say anything to me that would really pull me in like that. Like, I was like, oh, thank you for praying for me. Haha, like, this is great, but like, okay. Anyway, I'm kind of, at this point, I'd made up my mind because I was so hurt, and I just didn't really have anyone to like speak to about how I was feeling. So I parked that conversation there. Didn't say a word to him apart from, thank you. And for whatever reason, my heart still had a lot, as much as I've moved away from God, my heart still had a lot of questions. So loads of questions in my heart about God or about this guy who's called himself an intercessor. But I didn't really, I wasn't really trying to make myself available to, really asking any questions. So let's move into December of 2023. It was now time for me to go to Nigeria. And again, my heart is still very heavy. And this same guy, he would send me, he'll send me sermons or Bible verses. And I'll just be like, why is this guy still bothering me? Like, I don't know you, leave me alone. But I'll take them in. And a lot of the time they resonated. But because of where I was so far gone. Like it would have been really, really hard to get me back. And the beautiful thing about God is that he knows us. And he knows us on a very deep level. So he knows what is required to bring again, his children back home. So I made my way to Nigeria. Actually, no, we just missed one part of the story. Throughout this period, there was like days where I would have like extreme sleepless nights. I wouldn't be dreaming or anything, but I would just have loads of questions. I remember one particular night, it was like 3 a.m. in the morning. I woke up and I was just like, why do I have so many questions? Like, who is this guy? And why are you telling me that you're an intercessor? Like, what does that even mean? So I've messaged him randomly 3 a.m. Can you imagine? And I'm like, hi. The other day you said that you're this person, like, what does that mean? I had a list of questions and he agreed to jump on a call with me. He answered all my questions. And even though he answered all my questions excellently, I just didn't care. I was like, yeah, this is amazing. He answered it, but I still don't know about this God thing. I still don't know. Anyway, I make my way over to Nigeria. And as soon as I get to Nigeria, my heart is still very heavy. I'm feeling very just disattached, disassociated from just the world, life, God, everything. I really didn't know. And I get a message, I think it was maybe like a day or so, as soon as I land in Nigeria, I get a text from my pastor's assistant. Now, we have a very big church. My church is big, so for my pastor's assistant to message me very specifically, it had to be serious. And the message read, hey, Wunmi, pastor wants to speak to you very urgently. Can you make some time to speak to him as soon as possible? As soon as I read that message, I said, oh, this is God. Because why would he's never messaged me, or his assistant has never messaged me to speak to me directly in that way before. This is, So I jumped on a call with them. I remember I was even in a salon because I went to Nigeria for my friend's wedding. I'm doing my hair and they asked me to jump on a Zoom call. I jump on the Zoom call with them and my pastor the first question he asked me is, Wunmi, where are you at spiritually? I said, far, far away, very much gone. And he was like, walk me through that. Why are you away? And I kind of explained, oh yeah, and I felt like God told me to do this episode and I did it. And then people hate me and then I feel like this and then just a bunch of stuff. And he's looking at me blank. I will never forget the look on his face. He was just like, girl. He was like, let me tell you something. You're going in the opposite direction. You're going this way. God wants you to go this way. And if you continue this way, you will never meet or you'll never become what you're supposed to become. And I'm like, okay. And so he starts talking further. He speaks a little bit further just about, the reality of like what I need to do and how much I need to double down in my faith. And I was hearing him, I think that was for the first time, because of how grand he is in my eyes and, how much he's helped me in my journey. Before I decided to like kind of part away from God, I was like, there's a lot more, there's a lot in this and there's a reason why God has like brought him to my table. So I decided to listen. And right as we were ending that conversation out of nowhere, he was just like, and by the way, God has sent you a man who's really supposed to help you grow spiritually and you need to let him in. He didn't need to say any names. I automatically knew he was talking about the guy that messaged me on Snapchat automatically. And I just started crying in that moment because I said, you know what? God knows me so well because the thing about me is I'm a very strong person and it takes a lot for me. If I've made a decision, it takes a lot for me to like, revert. And God knows it would take someone who I honor, like my pastor, for me to really come back home and really listen to, what he had to say. So as soon as he said that, I messaged this man. His name is Jethro. Can I just please get a round of applause for Jethro, everyone? His name is Jethro, and he truly has been such a pivotal part of my transformation this year. As soon as I finished the conversation with my pastor, I jumped on a call with him, and I didn't tell him anything that my pastor said at all. I just was like, oh yeah, I have more questions. And, he's someone that's been in the faith a lot longer than me, and it's so deep in it. So he had the words to really answer all the questions I had. And as soon as I kind of got back to London, this is January, I knew January was this year, 2024 was going to be a really big year for me. So it was the year. As I came back to London, I just made a promise to God. I said, all right, I'm making my way back home, but I need you to really take me on this journey. And I know that you placed people in my life in position to really help me grow, And so I started reading my Bible, from the beginning. And I really just went into a much, much, much more serious and deeper relationship with him in a way that I didn't even know was possible for someone like myself. Again, Christianity has never really been anything I've known. So I go on this journey and Jethro's kind of walking me through it, and God is sending me many people like Haley, like yourself, who have just been such a significant part of my journey. And so, let me not lose my thoughts here. And so through this time, the beautiful thing, one of the greatest things I realized about God is that when it comes to him working, when he is a part of our life is not supposed to look the same. And I've seen it in myself in the sense that God literally came into my life and said, the character that I see that you are currently operating as, the person that you are being, is so far away from the woman I need you to be. And in order for you to become the woman that I need you to be, I'm going to need to break you. And a lot of the time I think that when God breaks us, we think, we see things happen in our lives, and a lot of the time we might not attach it to God and might think, oh, God isn't doing this. But when God is breaking us, it's in order for him to rebuild us to become who we're supposed to be. So with me, the way God communicates with me is very much through dreams. From when I started that journey, I would be up, like it was every day. I'm up 5 a.m., 4 a.m. reading my Bible. I'm praying before I do anything. I changed my whole life routine. Like my whole life had to revolve around God because I knew his hands were so deeply and so firmly on me, though I didn't really understand the reasons why. So I remember one of the biggest things, I would wake up from dreams and it would be dreams about elements of myself that wasn't a reflection of him. So it would be things about my character. And I want to talk about character because that was probably one of the biggest words that God kept using with me, where he'll show me elements of me that just weren't right. So for example, I'm going to get real personal here. But so I grew up, like I said, I didn't grow up with my parents. And so in my household, my London mum, I call her. So I have my London mum and I have my birth mum. My London mum, if you've ever experienced her, she is super aggressive. She talks anyhow, whenever, whoever, does not care. And I was kind of like, as a child, the polar opposite of that, right? So you're growing up and experiencing a lot of this, you're just hearing a lot of stuff that your child should not be hearing constantly, every single day, around and around about, the reality of your life. You've been abandoned. You've been this. So it becomes a thing. But in my heart, I always said that I wanted to be the complete opposite of her. So I would go to school. Like my mission was to go to school and to spread love. Like I just wanted to be like the super complete opposite of what I was experiencing at home. So it would be fluffy, it would be light, and no one really knew the reality of like what was going on at home. Anyway, in my adult life, though, as much as I fought that, and I fought completely against the way that she spoke and the things that I was kind of absorbing. In my mind, I thought I completely was against. That wasn't me, right? In my relationships, and what God did was through my dreams, he showed me the ways that I actually adopted elements of her character in ways that I didn't see. So God was saying to me very clearly, the way that you speak sometimes, the way that you operate when you're angry, the way that you do this, the way that you do that. And it was so hard for me because, again, you've painted this picture of yourself as someone who is like light, funny, this, you know what I mean? And then God shows you the reality of your heart and you're like, whoa, so this is who I am. And I remember kind of off the back of that dream, I called my producer, one of the closest people to me, like the person who kind of sees me in and out, and I was like, is there a way that I speak? Is there a way that I kind of operate that kind of isn't in alignment to, isn't right, I guess, or doesn't make it easy for you to communicate with me? She was like, you know what, if you want me to be honest, yes. And it's interesting that you asked this because I would have never have like told you, because what's the point? Like you probably wouldn't see it because you see yourself in a certain way. And I remember that was a conversation that I was having with so many people around me because I really need to get to the reality of what God was asking, or God was showing me and God needed me to see. So that was one of the things, and it kind of drew, so that was character thing, and it came into finances, it came into just the way I even organize my life, organize my day, organize how I operate, organize everything. And I think the thing about the beautiful thing that I really just love about my journey is that God said, your character in all the ways needs to reflect me in order for me to really put you out into the world, in order for you to really carry the grace that I have over your life. Because if I went into all the things, all the big things that I want to do, all the grand things that I want to do as who I was before I met Christ, I would have lost it all. So I just want to, I guess the core of my message is that if God is working on you, for us to really sit with that journey and allow him to morph us in a way that he needs to morph us, because who we are supposed to become is so much better and so much greater than who we are at present. And I've seen that in my life, in the way that I think, and the peace that it has brought me, the joy that it has brought me, heaviness on the peace that it has brought me is unlike anything I've ever experienced. So I hope that my story resonates with you. I hope that you are able to see that, as God is working on you and as God is breaking you, that he is molding you and, growing you to become something greater and something larger.